Thank you so much. Bye, Kyle. Hello, George.
Ellen, how are you?
I'm good. Are you, sir?
I am ready.
If you're ready, I'll let you share your screen and we'll move to you.
All right, let's make sure we do this right the
Sure.
first time.
And I see it. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
excellent. Well, thank you. And Kyle, it was a great presentation. Always great to learn more about, the Brother Company. And I like the scanner technology. That's fantastic. Well, greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you again. I'm George Borden, Solution Architect with Sharp NEC Display Corporation. And today I'm going to present to you some very familiar looking slides that I presented in some last Cynics Lunch and Learn events. And, I feel it's more appropriate actually now more that we are transitioning and semi-transitioning back to the work environment as it was when we were being forced out of the work environment. So let's go ahead without further ado. I'm going to jump right in and let's talk about, these challenges. I kept this slide intact because, again, like I just mentioned, we were being put back to where we came from. Most of us, at least, or hopefully a lot of us. I know that, as Kyle mentioned, there's going to be folks that that don't go back full time. They're going to remain in a hybrid work state for the indefinite or the near foreseeable future. And with that being said, we still have to adjust to get back to being in that office environment. So a lot of our mannerisms, the way that we conduct business, technologies that we use, the flow of business, the day-by-day activity, it's definitely changed. A lot of us, even including me, I'm the first person to raise my hand that bad habits were acquired along the way. And that was one of the things that we have to learn how to overcome. So the first thing is, verbal and audio communication. When we were in the office and we were face to face in boardrooms, huddle rooms, meeting rooms, yes, we were using conference technology for businesses and customers that weren't in the facility, but we had a cadence, we had a structure to how we operated. And then, lo and behold, once we get to the home work office and the home office environment, some that did have offices, some that were using kitchen tables or wherever they could, repurpose an area to do business, it changed up a bit. So we had to adjust and adapt and overcome. Now we have to get back to that a little bit, and we kind of have to get rid of our bad habits. So we have to keep in mind about that video, verbal and audio communication. The same goes with written and illustrative communication as well. So when you're writing and you're next to a colleague, at a meeting, and it's easy to, show those notes and then put it up on the screen, we had a challenge with using technology to write on a screen in order to do detail, or especially in verticals such as specific verticals like engineering, architecture, anywhere where they needed to show detail and a high definition to the writing element. That was definitely a challenge to overcome. Media communications, another one. That one is more, in my opinion, the repositories of information and how we share those bits of information. As Kyle mentioned, scanning physical documents and having them somewhere where everybody can share those in a very quick and efficient manner. The balance question comes into play with on-prem, off-prem. So it's been talked about, who's going to go back, what is the schedule that's going to go back, how are these businesses going to load balance, and which ones are going to go back full time and which ones are going to remain in a true hybrid state. That remains to be seen. Lastly, or next to last, is choosing the right software technology. Even though Sharp Display, Sharp NEC Display Corporation, we are a hardware manufacturer, it is very important to understand the software element and what your business and vertical is working within. So we try to take a keen interest in that to match you with the right display technology for your application, knowing what you want to do with your software. And then lastly, I don't want to belabor the point of the pandemic, but we do have to keep in mind cleaning and disinfecting. And I just want to touch upon that at the very end of the deck, that there is a proper way to clean your touchscreen, and we can talk about that. Now, the main product that we have in our arsenal for hybrid and should I say collaboration and interactivity is a product called the CB series. And the CB series is a 4K display with IR touch. It comes with 3 different sizes: 65-inch, 75-inch, and 86-inch. And what I consider this is, I consider this a very flexible, easy to use, and as advanced of a unit that you want it to be. We've sold a lot of these into the education vertical, but also businesses bought a lot of these, and then other smaller verticals and sub verticals have bought this product. And it gives the end user, it gives the business the ability to make it what they want to make it. So from the very basic essence of the product, what it is that it's a display that runs on an Android 8.0 operating system. So there's a solid state media player that's running this device. And you can use it on its own standalone without any peripherals plugged into it. It comes with some courtesy software built into it, and I don't want to say courtesy to diminish the effectiveness of the software. It is actually very robust software, but we get you started with some software in the event that your customer, they haven't yet settled on a standardization, which I don't know who hasn't yet after what we've been through, but we do have that available. One of those pieces of software is, of course, a whiteboard technology, which I'll talk about in a minute. You can also bring your own device to this solution. So the screenshot that you're seeing there is a product called, or software called Mosaic Connect. And Mosaic Connect can work on a local level or on a remote level. So if there are remote workers, what this device can do through cloud technology, as long as they have an internet connection, they can present their device, whether it be an iOS, Android, or Google Chrome web browser, to the physical CV board wherever it's located. As long as they have that 6-digit code, they can present their device. The other thing the software will do is it will allow the user to upload the file type that they want to share, or any file type, to a destination in the session where others can download. So what it does is it gives you the ability to share your file, and then you download that file, and then once that session expires, then that media expires as well. So it's not a repository for information in perpetuity. It is merely a convenience while the session's going on at the moment. We can also add some peripherals to this, as I mentioned. So from a basic level, we can make it very simple and very usable. But if you wanted to bring your own computer to the unit, you can plug your laptop into this. It has 3 HDMI inputs. It has a VGA input. We even have the ability to put an OPS computer. So if you have an OPS computer, which if those of you that don't know, it stands for Open Pluggable Specification. And it's essentially a computer that's about the size of a small rectangle. It fits into the back of the unit so that you have a nice flush install on the wall. We do sell those. We have them in the Windows 10 Pro variety, and you can reach out to me if you want more information and a deeper dive on that. You can do media presentations even locally. So if there's a device that uses AirPlay, like a MacBook, you can take this software and you can give it another code designation, and then users at a local level can present to it as well. So from a basic level, you can do the whiteboarding and the file sharing that you would expect. And then you can even take it up another level by adding custom applications into the product. Now, we are not Google Play certified, so very, very quickly, I like to explain that immediately. But if you have a computer, a Chromebook, and it's attached to one of the HDMI connections, then you can use Google Play ecosystem all day long. But if you wanted to use apps natively on the product, then what you would do is go to an APK download site and download any of those applications that you see fit, such as Adobe Acrobat, Firefox web browser, Microsoft PowerPoint Reader, those type of applications. And from a creature comfort, you can even customize the background. So if you wanted to put school logo, business logo, if you sell this into the locker room for a sports team, they can have the sports logo on it, and they can use whiteboarding and actually bring up a graphic of the football grid or the baseball grid or whatever the sports team's using. The applications are literally endless for this product. Now, from a hardware standpoint, there's a lot of robust build within the hardware structure. The first thing we have is 2 powerful 12-watt speakers, so the sound is very robust. It's very rich, just inherently in and of itself. But also, if you add an external sound system, either analog or digital, we have analog output and digital output on this product. I mentioned OPS slots, so that OPS slot is available. We have those units, as I mentioned. The other great thing I like about this product is that it doesn't have active pens. Not that there's anything wrong with an active pen, but active pens tend to be prone to batteries being drained or connectivity issues. Of course, loss is one of them. And then also, charging, those type of things. But, the passive pen that we have with the product is just merely a plastic pen with a blunt tip on the end. If you misplace it, no problem. You can use your finger. You can use any other blunt tip instrument in order to write on the board, so you're not locked into that pen in order to be functional with the CV board. I mentioned the powerful system on a chip. That's where the operating system Android 8.0, it boots up to an Android 8.0 start screen, and then from there you can engage the apps accordingly and then do what you need to do. It boasts 350 nits brightness, so it's plenty powerful enough to work in most environments. For any high ambient light environments, we do have any of our other displays that can be fixed with the third-party touch overlay, which we can talk about in a second. But we run the spectrum when it comes to engaging and overcoming any environments such as that. A wall mount is included with this unit. Now, in today's day and age, in the consulting and advisory that we do and that I do specifically for this product, I'm advising more of a cautious approach due to the nature of the times that we are living in. But if you have an opportunity or a facility where a wall mount is acceptable, that's one less thing that you have to worry about. So a wall mount does come with this unit, and that's a nice convenient feature. In addition to the 3 HDMI inputs and the VGA input, we also have 5 USB inputs, 3 on the rear. You can see in the picture there that there's 3 on the rear side of the product, and then for convenience purposes, there's 2 located on the front. So imagine if you have a CB board installed in a classroom and say perhaps you have a standalone desktop computer installed at a utility closet, several feet away or somewhere where it's inconvenient to load files onto. Well, when you pass the USB and the HDMI over to that machine, that USB not only carries the touch pass to the external device, it also allows you to file the transfer, do a file transfer, as you can imagine. So if you're in education vertical and you have a USB thumb drive, you can plug it directly into the USB front port, and then your file will then get transferred onto the computer. So we've thought about those conveniences for education and other users that are looking for ease of use as well. And I mentioned that it's preloaded with the 2 bits of software, which we'll get into real briefly here in a second. And just on a mention of that before I get into it, the software is not a demo license, it's not a beta license, it's full-blown software that comes complete with the product. There are no ongoing fees associated with it. You own it for the life of the ownership of the CB series. So real quickly on the first element that's special is the whiteboard, and it's not unlike any other whiteboard that's out there in the market. The whiteboard has some characteristics that I find relatively helpful, especially in education again, and wherever a presentation is being made that has to have some logical presentation steps or more than one page. So one of the big features is that you can have more than one whiteboard open in the same session, unlike some other whiteboards that you maybe have seen over the years where it's, write your information down, then you have to erase, or you have to close the file, open up a new one, and it becomes a little bit of a time crunch. This one you can open up, multiple sessions at the same time and then have a nice flow from one slide to the other. It's a full-featured whiteboard, so the control palette is extremely robust, and as you can imagine, you can do straight lines, curved lines, you can do arrows, you can do shapes, text, post-it notes, you can import pictures, and a variety of other things on the product. The control palette will even allow you to break out implements from the actual palette itself, so that if there's more than one person working on the CB series, they can be at either side of the display and not have to cross over one another in order to do work. So in other words, one person can have a pen over here, another person can have a pen over here, and then they can write simultaneously on the board. Natively, the CB board boasts 5 points of touch, but it also supports up to 20 points of touch, depending upon what software and external computer that you hook up to it. Once you're done writing and doing your creativity on the whiteboard, you can export your work in one of 2 ways. You can either export it as a PNG image file, or you can export it as a PDF file. Now, not only one board, but the entire collection of boards that you put together in the software. So it's very powerful. It allows you to get a lot of things done, and that's, again, a courtesy brought to you by virtue of buying the product. I went over this a little bit when it comes to Mosaic Connect. We talked about the remote capability for users to present information and the local capability to present. One thing I wanted to mention, it's limited to 4 individuals. So 4 individuals can be in the session, only 1 individual can present at a given time. So it's not a piece of software where you can have 4 different folks presenting simultaneously in the session. It is cloud-based, so it's cloud software, meaning you have to have an internet connection in order to access it. It does things like a moderator mode and a rolling security mode, and then, like I mentioned before, you clear the files once you're done. So ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, the CV series, highly recommend that you consider it for the opportunities where your vertical are looking for an ease-of-use product that can become very effective in its own right, but also that they can grow with and use in a more advanced way, depending upon what PC or computer that they attach to it. Now, I mentioned just a second ago that the CV series has 350 nits of brightness, and sometimes that's not acceptable because we know that certain classrooms and buildings can be torn into with a high degree of ambient lighting. So a lot of our other displays boast 500 to 700 nits of brightness, and depending upon what size that you need, what kind of use case that you have, one of our third-party partners, one in particular, can put together a solution for you from my solutioning department for that specifically. And then, just like you would expect, the NEC displays have the ability to be controlled from our world-class, world-famous Naviset Administrator 2 software, where you can actually control all of your NEC assets from the comfort of your desktop. That's not just flat panels, that's also our projector series as well. So keep that in mind in case that ever comes up. Now, one thing that I don't ever hear much about, and that's through nobody's fault, but it's just one of those things that it's kind of taken for granted, is our human sensor accessory. Now, the human sensor accessory is best known in our video wall world, and we've been known for our video walls for many years now. And what this device does is allows for the IR extension for the remote control, but it also has a sensor in it. So the sensor can be used pretty much with all of our displays so that it can do a few things. In today's getting back to the work environment, there's a lot of, we don't want to actually physically touch things too much if we don't have to. So this device can allow you to adhere to that, because you can turn on the video from a mute condition. You can alter brightness and audio levels. So this can be programmed through this device. And then you can change the source input if you want to. So when you're talking about concepts like the unattended lobby, where you walk in and there's a sign, and the sign is saying, welcome to my business, and it detects motion, then it can switch to another input that will give that user visiting the business the ability to go through the proper procedure in which to get access into the building. So it's a great feature that can be used with any of our displays. You can also use it in boardrooms. It's an energy savings device, so if you don't want the display to be on at all times, you can use this to also get the display into a dormant state, a standby state. What I did also, I included just a couple examples here. Some of this I'm preaching to the choir, I understand, but when it comes to hybrid considerations, of course, the home office setup, huddle rooms, mobile conference, elements. Again, I'm very keen on recommending carts for displays, because we really don't know what's going to be happening into the future. Albeit, we have a high level of confidence that we're going to continue to move forward in this fashion that we're seeing now. But I really feel that there's a lot of preventative maintenance and not damage control kind of thought that we need to keep putting into growing back into the on-prem business model. So if at all possible, I recommend carts for displays, because you never know when you're going to repurpose one of your environments, just like we heard a lot about during the pandemic. When classrooms weren't necessarily be able to be used, and they had to repurpose larger gymnasiums and other places within schools with this technology. So keeping that in mind for each of the particular verticals that you service, it's good to know that we have flexibility, and flexibility can be brought to these verticals, and then carts can be used in a way that makes sense. A couple other things, and then I'm almost going to wrap it up here, everybody. There's a best practices for disinfecting and cleaning. When it comes to touch screens, you're going to want to do both. So, I'm using a couple graphics there of some couple brand name products, but you typically want to use an alcohol-based wipe. And according to CDC, they recommend at least 70% alcohol-based wipe. But the thing about an alcohol-based wipe is that it streaks the screen. So after you streak the screen and you disinfect it, you're going to want to back it up with a proper cleaning so that you're not working on a streaky touch screen. So, we recommend, that approach. And if you go to our website or even on YouTube, you can see one of our product managers doing a great demonstration and a great educational video on the proper disinfecting and cleaning technique of a touchscreen display. So last but not least, just a couple bits of, wisdom, I guess, that we've learned, all of us collectively, not just coming from my seat. But the first thing, we want to make sure that everybody has a plan. Make sure you have a plan. We were surprised in a great way when everything started to go down and we were being shifted and thwarted into different directions. And we were very reactionary and we weren't proactive. So going forward, we need to have a plan and we have to prepare for the unknown. We have to, have a bit of contingency, a bit of backup. As I mentioned before, we want to put displays on carts wherever necessary. Backup power is something that I don't usually talk about a whole lot, but it's good if you have an environment, especially mission critical environments where power is a necessity. Have a good generator backup, even those UPS backup, power backup devices, so that you can keep running and not miss a beat. Hardware spares are important. Whenever I do a video wall or whenever one of my colleagues do a direct view LED or even our projector specialists, we're always recommending having additional hardware on site, on deck if possible, that in case if there is an outage and a warranty repair needs to happen, if the business doesn't have that white glove service, they can easily, you as the integrator installer, you can easily put a new display back up and running so that they're running no problem. And then last but not least, I don't like to talk too much about software, but you got to have some software redundancy. So if you standardized on one of the major collaboration and file sharing platforms, whether it's Teams, WebEx, Zoom, GoToMeeting, whatever it is, it's good to have a backup. So have Google Meet as your backup. Have one of the other competitors as a backup. That way, if something is amiss, sometimes Teams gets loaded down and some things happen there. No offense to the Teams because we love it and we use it, but have a backup so you don't miss a beat and you don't have to reschedule meetings and lose that productivity. Folks, I really appreciate your time and attention today. Again, I'm George Borden, Solution Architect with Sharp NEC Display Corporation. Please think of us if you ever have projector, display, collaboration, desktop needs. Desktops are another great thing that we have, and we don't usually talk about it from my vantage point. But if any of those things resonate, if any of the concepts and topics that I talked about today resonate with you, please feel free to reach directly out to your TD SYNNEX rep, and they'll dial me in, and then I'll be more than happy to help you directly. Thank you very much.